Never felt different, but the family made me feel different. And you don't even know what to call yourself because they can't say your name.
And they make you repeat it 1,000 times.
Yeah, I am completely different than everybody else.
I wouldn't even wear a backpack. That's what I was going to say.
Where do you 100% fit in? You don't. 50/50 podcast. Hi everyone, I'm Yas.
And I'm Yel.
And welcome to the 50/50 podcast. If you're new here, welcome back. And if you're not new, welcome.
Yes, and don't forget to subscribe too if you're new, or if you're not new and you haven't subscribed yet, just go ahead and hit that subscribe button because we have episodes every week.
So let's start. How was your week since last time that we saw each other?
Yeah, since last time that we
saw each other for the podcast.
Yeah, that we recorded. That's what I was going to say. Because we've seen each other pretty much, I feel like, every single day since last time we recorded. But yeah, it's been a good week actually over here. Surprisingly, like this is the highlight of my week. My bed finally came in.
I can't believe it.
From West Elm. I ordered a bed from West Elm and I vlogged this whole thing. I have a vlog about like the whole like fail that happened at first, and now it finally came. I vlogged that too, so that'll be up a little bit later. That was such a surprising turn of events because
for me too.
It was supposed to be delivered originally in November. Never came. They canceled last minute, and they told me it wouldn't be coming till February 15th. That was like the delivery date. Mm-hmm. And then surprisingly, like last week I get an email saying like your bed is ready to be delivered, and I was like, I almost thought it was spam. Remember I told you, I was like, this looks suspicious. I'm like, it can't be.
Right, yeah.
And then it actually was my bed, and I scheduled then I realized it was like a legit email and everything. Right. I scheduled the delivery. They called me too, so like I knew it was real this time.
But for a moment, we thought you were getting some kind of a scamming thing with West Elm.
Because it looked sketchy too. Like the email and everything looked kind of sketchy. It didn't look like the first one. So, but I guess they just, I don't know, they just changed their layout or something of their email. But yeah, and then on the delivery day, I still didn't believe it.
I didn't believe it either. I even went to my parents' house because I was like, I don't think it's coming.
Yeah, and we were there, and I was expecting any minute. I'm like, they're gonna call me and be like, it's canceled, just like they did the first time. And nope, my bed came, and I was expecting like, okay, they're gonna like forget something, because that was another thing. When I called, they were like only gonna send the headboard and not the rest of the bed. I don't know, it's been a disaster. So I was just my expectations were really, really low.
Yeah,
and my hopes and dreams were low. No, I'm kidding. No, my hopes for it was really low. Yeah. My bed came. There was a little problem. There was a screw missing, but then they found it. So it's like all said and done. I have my new bed in my room, and I'm just in shock. Like when I walked in there the other day, I was still kind of like surprised to see it. I was like, whoa.
I know, and it's so nice. It's so cute. It has storage. It's everything. Well, you guys will see that. You're gonna do a vlog about it, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna show it all, and yeah, I love it. I'm in love with my bed.
Me too. I love it.
Yeah, and I think about it to myself. I'm like, was it? And now I feel like it's worth it for everything, but I'm like, I don't think it was worth it. I don't know now. I mean, it's worth it now that I got it, but I don't know if I would purchase again from there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll think about it, but I'm just so happy I have my bed. I'm so excited, and that's like a step towards me updating my room, which is also another one of my goals for like this year, and just been an ongoing goal.
Part of your room transformation.
Yes.
Right? Because you still have some more things that you want to do to your room.
Yeah, I have a couple more things that I want to do to update and everything, but yeah. How about you? How was your week?
It was good. Over here where we live, it was nice and warm. Yes. Well, we had one warm day. It went up to like 76 degrees.
Yeah, it was like hot. Like it felt hot because we're in the middle of January or end of January.
End of January, and it was hot. We even had a cookout.
Yeah.
So we had a cookout. It felt like a summer day.
It felt like a summer day. It was actually hot outside. Like I couldn't believe it because the day before I think it was like 50. Maybe?
Yeah, I don't know. And of course the snow and everything that we had like the previous week to that. And it was so hot that, well, I get hot easily, so I was wearing shorts.
Yeah, inside the house.
Inside the house, yeah. But we even went out to go get ice cream and everything because it was hot. So
oh my god, it was so nice. It felt like a little glimpse of summer.
I know, I can't wait.
Spring or summer.
Spring starts March 19th.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm so excited for springtime. I can't wait. I want sun.
Yes,
I don't want any more gloomy days. I want sunny days.
It's just something about it. Like I woke up that day and I knew it was going to be warm because I always check the weather like every day. I'm basically tracking the weather. But so the night before we were talking about everything, like, oh my god, tomorrow's gonna be a warm day. And when I woke up, it was so sunny.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just feel so much happier just knowing it's gonna be a warm day. Like I don't know, my mood was just like
it's just so bright. Also, the sun was so bright that day. I just opened all the windows and have all the sun come. I mean, I open the windows every day, but it's just different when you have that kind of a sun. It felt like a summer sun.
It felt like the summer, like, and it's just so nice in the middle of winter to just have, like, even if it's one day, to have that little, like, one, like, peak of, like, spring and summer that's going to come sooner than we know it. But yeah, I just loved it. It was so nice. It was
so nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my highlight of my week.
Yeah, those are our weeks. And today, though, for this episode, we really wanted to get into just, you know, being mixed. That's what this episode is going to be about, because something that my sister and I we've always get asked this since we were little, like growing up and everything. And this is in real life. We always get asked what we are, like what our mixture is, because
like, where are you guys from? That's usually what people ask, and we understand that they don't mean are you from America?
Yeah, you know? We understand that they don't mean like what part of America, because where we live, especially, it's very diverse. So it's like kind of a question that we all ask each other. Right. Especially when we were little kids or growing up and everything in school, everybody kind of asks each other, where are you from? And we don't mean where are you actually from? We mean like where are your parents from?
Exactly.
So we live in a place where there's like a lot of like diversity, like I was saying, and a lot of first gen people.
Yes, a lot.
Like our age.
And like you said, this is actually kind of, I don't think it's that common to live though in a place that has so much diversity, because we grew up with all kinds of people, all kinds of cultures, all kinds of everything, different foods, and
and still to this day we're still exposed to that, like so many different cultures and everything. And like you're saying, we feel like it's the norm, but now as we grow up, we learned it's not the norm.
It's not the norm, because you go to another state even, and for them it's weird.
Yeah, exactly.
For us it's not.
Yeah. Or you encounter different people, like even with me working and everything, I work with people from all across the United States, and I just realized, you know, from things that they tell me and things that I share, they're like, oh, it's not the same. Like they live in a place where it's just mostly, you know, white, not to, you know, not that that's bad or good or anything, but just stating the facts, like, you know, so they were, when they came here, a lot of times they've come from other parts of the country, and they come and they work here. They're just like kind of surprised, like, oh my God, like they're like, you can go get Ethiopian food, like on this corner, and on that corner you have, you know, Mexican food or Chinese food,
Japanese food.
Yeah.
All kinds of Thai food. Yeah. There's everything.
Arab food. Like there's everything. You can find that like...
And different kinds of like Spanish food, Mexican food, Salvadorian food, you know, Guatemalan food, Brazilian food,
Colombian food.
Because, you know, it's all different.
Yeah, exactly. So we have a lot of that. So we are very blessed where we live. But we still, even living in a place that's very diverse and everything, we still, you know, being mixed, anybody out there who's mixed, you know, and like any mixture that you are, we know like our mixture that we're going to speak about obviously is very specific to us, but I've known other mixed people too growing up and everything. And we kind of have the same experience, because you are, you know, always kind of pulled from in one side or the other. So we've said it before on the podcast, we said it before on our channels and everything, but we are half Ecuadorian and half Turkish. So our mom is from Ecuador, born and raised, and our dad's from Turkey, born and raised. And then they both came here to America separately. They didn't know each other. They met here in the United States, and, you know, from there, the rest is history. But then we came along and now they have, you know, we are the only ones in our family, because that's a big thing to point out. And especially at the time, my sister's the oldest, so when she was born, like nobody in my mom's family had ever been with anybody else that's not Ecuadorian. So everybody in my mom's family is Ecuadorian. And especially, I'm talking about the time when you were born too.
Yeah.
So my mom's the first person to marry outside of her culture.
Well, that's until now. That's mom, and I am the only. Well, not me, but now you.
Now
both of us. Both of us are the only ones that are mixed
in our family.
In our families, in both sides, because also on dad's side.
Yeah, on our dad's side too. He's the first one to ever marry outside of his culture, his religion, everything. You know, so when we came around, I guess it was something very different for our families. And obviously, you don't know that when you're living it, because we're just us. We never, you know.
And you don't know that when you're little.
Yeah.
You know that something is a little different, but you don't know that, like, you're different.
Right. Like, we both knew, like, for example, that our mom doesn't speak the same language as our dad's family does, and that our dad and his family don't speak the same language as, like, my mom's family does. Of course, my mom and dad, they speak English. That's how they, you know, communicate and everything.
Yeah, of course.
But, so we knew that. We knew that there were differences, but, like, for example, me, and we have a different, even though we were both sisters, and we're only 2.5 years apart, so she's only 2.5 years older than me. But, you know, everybody has a different experience when they're growing up.
Of course.
Yeah. So I thought that just everybody was different. That's what I thought. Like, everybody's mom and everybody's dad were completely different, and then they meet. Like, that's how I thought everybody
life was. Yeah.
And so, like, we know now, like we were saying, we understand now more, like, the differences, and now when we think about it too, we're like, okay, like, I can really see kind of how for each of our families, like, you know, we were so different to them, but we always felt like I knew that I was different to an extent, but I kind of felt the same.
Yeah, and that's where, for me, it's different. I never felt different.
Yeah.
I never felt different, but the family made me feel different.
Exactly.
Because they would say, like, our, Latino family, they would say las gringas, which means the Americans.
Yeah.
Right? The American girls.
Yeah.
So
that's another aspect of it too. We are also the first ones, like my sister's the first one on both sides of the family to be born in America.
Yeah.
Nobody else in her family besides at the point in time that she was born in America. And then I came along. I was number 2. And then we have like another cousin. But otherwise, everybody else has been born in either Ecuador or Turkey, respectively, are both families.
Right.
So, yeah, like you were saying, like...
So that's how I felt different, but me feeling different to them, I didn't. I felt the same when I was younger, right?
Yeah.
Because then when I grew up, then that's when I was like, whoa, I am really different. Like, we are different. We think differently. We see things different. But as, like, growing up and stuff, younger, that's what made me notice that I was different.
Yeah.
Like that, with the family.
Yeah, and I think that's true for a lot of people, too, because same thing for me. Like, I don't know. I guess I was, like, really young, too, so I don't remember exactly what came first, but I know also that the way that they reacted to us also made me notice that we are different.
Right.
Because I always felt like everybody's different, so I didn't think that I would be any different from everybody else. You know what I mean? I thought we were all different in our own ways, which is true. That is true.
It's true.
But like from our Latino side of the family, they definitely made us feel very like we're not one of them, which is not in a bad way or anything. But
that's the thing.
It's like just like we always felt that separation, that they would be like, "Oh, you guys are different."
Just like people say, like, you're never Ecuadorian enough, or whatever culture that you are, right? You're never enough of one. You're never enough of the other. So you're like, what am I? Where do I fit in? Right? We're not Ecuadorian enough. We're not Turkish enough. We're not American enough, because even for our American friends, we're like weird because we eat weird foods, and we speak weird languages because we speak different languages than them. So it's like, where do you 100% fit in? You don't. You don't. And you won't, because you are you. And that's what makes you the best, honestly. That's what makes you so unique. And that's what I've learned. Yeah. You don't need to fit in with everybody else, because that's what makes you different. That's what makes you you. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's like one of the things, even if you're not mixed culturally, race or whatever, even if you're not mixed in that sense, everybody still, you're yourself. You have your own story and everything. You should always be proud of what you are. And I think that's one thing that at least our parents, like, I was never ashamed of what I was, ever. Even though when I felt different or anything like that, I always loved what I was, and that's because our parents are very proud. My mom's a very proud Ecuadorian woman. My dad's a very proud Turkish man, super proud. He loves his country. They both love their country.
Everything about their countries, their food, their culture, their language, and they made us love it too.
Exactly, and they made us love it. And even though we are here in America, and they knew that this is like, I guess the dominant culture, because we live here and we're going to grow up here and we're going to school and everything in America, they still did such a good job of instilling like their cultures in us, that even till this day, like, we love our cultures, and we still, like, we speak the different languages that our parents speak, and we enjoy that food and just everything, the music, everything.
Yeah. Even me, now that I'm a mom now, I pass that on to my daughter. Yeah. Because even though, I'm not an immigrant parent to her, but I have that from my parents, and I want her to have those traditions, have that culture, have that kind of the same thing that I had, and pass that down.
Yeah, exactly. So now you even see the importance of like, kind of not only just taking what they taught us and everything, but teaching that too.
Teaching it and passing it down, because it's so special, it's so important, it's who you are, that's who I am.
Exactly.
So that's what I want my child to also have, part of her mom.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, but with being mixed too, there's some things, there's always like some downfalls that come along with it. But like I'm saying, I was always so proud. Yeah. But there are always people who will kind of
try and knock you down,
or want to make you feel bad for being different in their eyes. So I know that happened, a lot with us too. Like, just people, for example, I would be like, all my life, as far as I can remember, I guess my parents always taught us to say, like, whenever anybody asked us, like, oh, where are you from, or where are your parents from, we would always say, like, oh, I'm half Ecuadorian, half Turkish. Like, I would always say that. That's like, anybody who like went to school with me, everything, I feel like everybody already knew that, because that's always my line that I always say. Yeah. But some people would be like, no, pick a side. Like, you can't be both things. Like, there's no way that you can, like, equally be like as Ecuadorian as you are Turkish. And I'm like, but I am. So that's something that we come
literally
across
what
too.
you are.
Yeah, when people would be like, pick a side, whatever, and
It's like
you can't.
you can't pick a side.
Yeah.
It's like picking like, who do you love more, your mom or your dad? How are you gonna pick that?
I know, and that's something that I've heard from other mixed people too, and even people mixed like that are like half black and half white. For example, in America, they're American, they're 100% American. So I feel like them too. They always get asked like, what side do you relate more to? And it's like, and it's so hard for people to understand that like you don't relate to one side more than the other. You are both.
You relate to both.
Yeah,
because
and being both is your identity.
Yeah, how can you pick one over the other? There's no way.
Yeah,
there is no way, because it's like picking like, which hand do you like more, your left or your right?
Yeah.
Or something. Like, it's something so weird to ask a person.
Yeah, I know. But I guess it's hard to understand for people who aren't mixed. But again, we would never know because we just don't have that.
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know that. But yeah, so that's something that I would get asked a lot. Like, and it would make me even think about it. I'm like, well, which one do I relate more to? And I would kind of think about it. And I'm like, you know, I've come to the conclusion after so many years now, you know, me being an adult and everything. And it's not just from right now, but like from like, you know, since I started already like being, I guess, going into adulthood, that's when I realized I'm like, you know what, I am both things. And like, if somebody doesn't like that or can't understand it, well, that's on them. Like sometimes people ask me to like pick a side and everything. I feel like it's so hard, especially like with us in our case where our mom is, you know, 100% Ecuadorian, our dad's 100% Turkish. And they're like, well, just like, you know, which one, just say one. Like when somebody asks you where you're from, just say one. Don't say both.
What food do you like more? Or what do you like more? Trying to pressure you into picking something.
Exactly. And I'm like I remember explaining this to one of my friends who they were kind of like, they didn't understand. I was like, you know, if I were to deny one of my sides, I feel like I'm denying one of my parents.
That's right.
And not only my parent, but like my whole family that's on that side. Because if I were to one day decide like, I'm just, when somebody asks me, I'll be like, oh, I'm just Ecuadorian and not Turkish. I feel like I'm denying my whole, like my dad and that whole side. And if I say I'm Turkish and not Ecuadorian, like I'm denying like my mom and that whole side. So I'm like, I literally can't, like, to me, that like my parents represent that, and I just couldn't pick one over the other. Like, you know?
Neither. I couldn't.
Yeah.
I feel both. I feel three things because I feel Ecuadorian, I feel Turkish, and I feel American because that's what I am.
Yeah, exactly. And that's another thing. We've been, you know, thank God we've been blessed enough that we've been able to go back and visit our parents' countries and everything. And, you know, I don't remember the first time we went because we were very little, but I remember growing up and one of those times that we went back and just knowing that here, you know, everybody's like, oh, like, because, you know, your food's different and everything. So I was like, oh, we're going to go there where everybody's like us. Mm-hmm. Right? That's what I thought. Mm-hmm. And this, you know, and when we got there, we realized they're not like us. So we're like, what the heck? We're like, here everybody tells us like, you know, we're not like American people, like the typical American people, right? And then when you go back to your parents' countries, you're not 100% like them either, because we grew up in America, mm-hmm. right there, that's a big difference. And we also have our other half. So we're not 100% Ecuadorian and we're not 100% Turkish. So when we go back, like, we are still different.
We are still different. No matter where we go, if we go to either place, Ecuador or Turkey, we're different.
Yeah. But I will say, when we go to Turkey, it's a little bit different than when we visit Ecuador, because when we visit Ecuador, for some reason, everybody always knows we're tourists. Like, we're not from there. They always, like, we can't, like, fool one person when we're over there. And it's so crazy because we speak Spanish very fluently, actually, like
with no accent at all.
No accent at all, because we've spoken Spanish our whole lives. Like, my mom would speak both languages to us since we were born. Mm-hmm. I can, you know, with confidence say, you know, we're like very fluent. And we have, you know, an Ecuadorian accent because that's where my mom learned how to speak Spanish, like from Ecuador, and she always lived there and everything. Mm-hmm. And we always, you know, learned. My grandma lived with us too when we were younger, my Ecuadorian grandma. So of course we had that like accent. So even though we go to Ecuador and we'll speak in Spanish with our Ecuadorian accent and everything, they still don't believe us that we're like Ecuadorian. So we have that when we go to Ecuador, but you know, I still love going. It's
yeah, I enjoy going to both.
Yeah. But when we go to Turkey, it's just a little bit different because for some reason everybody thinks we're Turkish.
Yeah.
Nobody thinks we're not Turkish. Nobody thinks we're American.
Yeah, they speak to us in Turkish.
Yeah, so, exactly.
And that's different because when we go to Ecuador, they speak to us in English.
Yeah, they speak to us in English.
Even though we speak Spanish, we speak fluent Spanish our whole life. We read, we write, we speak Spanish.
Yeah.
And with our mom, we are only talking in Spanish.
Yeah, even here in our whole life, we only talk to our mom in Spanish.
So that's so interesting that they speak to us in English over there.
Yeah.
Or they catch it so fast that we're not Ecuadorian, we're not, we born and raised there. They catch that we're tourists so fast in Ecuador. Yeah. But when we go to Turkey, it takes them sometimes a moment. As soon as we start speaking, then they catch it, because our Turkish is
not good. Not good. We're working on that, though. We're working on it. We have a lot to learn. We know a lot of words, but we need to do better at
sentences.
We're just like I feel like at an elementary level, we need to get better.
Preschool.
Yeah, preschool probably. But we're working on it. That's one of our goals.
That's our goal.
We will get better at it. And when we're there, I feel like every time we go, we get like so much better at it too.
Oh yeah. We just need to practice. That's the thing. We need to practice, and it's so easy to just not do it because it's hard. Yeah. It's hard if I start telling you something in Turkish. Yeah. I'm like, wait, what did I don't even know what I said.
Yeah. And the difference with our parents is that our mom is she's a strict one in general, like between our parents. And so she was very much like when we were growing up, I remember our mom being like, no, you like don't mix English and Spanish. Like when you're talking to me, you only talk to me in Spanish. And that helped us a lot to force us to, use the language. My dad, on the other hand, he's not strict at all. And we always speak to him in English. And so I feel like if he would have forced us maybe to speak to him in Turkish when we were smaller, we would have a better foundation of it.
Yeah, because the words that he does say constantly, we know exactly. We know exactly what they mean.
Yeah, and we've gotten comfortable now speaking to our dad in English, So when we try to speak to him in Turkish, we're like, why if we can just speak in English?
And he also kind of laughs when we speak.
He laughs at us, yeah.
But that's with the family and stuff like that. And then going to school, that's also a big thing, because you start your childhood and everything at home, and then of course you have to go to school eventually. Yeah. And that for me was when, and I guess for you too, was when it all hits that you're just like, whoa. I am completely different than everybody else. Yeah. Because at least that's how I felt.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to say a little bit about your story? Because like I always said before, we're 2.5 years apart. Yeah. But where we went to school, we went to the same school. When my sister went, it was primarily
white people.
But by the time I came, which is just a few years later, like there was so much more diversity. So I have a little bit different of a experience than you did.
Yeah, that's true.
So do you want to say your experience a little bit?
For me, when I went to elementary school, that's when the first time I ever noticed, more so than even in the home with family and stuff like that, that's when I really noticed I'm like, I'm so different. My name is different. Yeah. My last name is so different. I'm not like Sarah or Samantha or Kelly or Jessica, which were the names, of all these other girls there. Yeah.
My name is... teacher's struggling to say your name.
The teacher cannot say my name. I don't know how to say my name in an American accent.
Especially back then when you were little.
Yeah, because I just didn't know. My parents wouldn't call me, with a different name. Yeah. They would call me my government name.
And we never had any nicknames.
We never had nicknames
even
or anything like that.
This day, our parents don't call us any nicknames. And our names are Turkish, by the way.
Yeah, we have Turkish. Yeah. My whole name is Turkish, first, middle, and last. And that's just the most weirdest thing, is going to school and you don't even know what to call yourself because they can't say your name.
And they make you repeat it 1,000 times.
Yeah, and they're like, wait, say it again. I'm like, I'm a little kid.
Yeah, you get to the point you're just like, what?
You start getting embarrassed, right? So that started happening to me. You start getting embarrassed. I'm like, oh my God, why don't I have a simple name? Why can't my name be simple? And that took me a while until I went into first grade. This teacher, she gave me an American name.
Yeah, she Americanized your name,
which I thank her for that. Yeah, and I think that's why she was my favorite teacher, because I was just like, whew, what a relief! Finally, I can say my name with an American accent, and that was a relief off my shoulders. Because for a child, it's rough that nobody can say your name,
and especially start to write your name. And one other thing about the name is that's also I'm sure anybody else with this too. You come from your house where even though our families were of different cultures, both sides of our family could say our names perfectly. So we never thought anything different about our name. So that's another thing. So this is the first time you're ever struggling. Yeah. You're saying your name and you're like, why aren't they getting it? You don't understand why they're not understanding.
It was hard for a little kid to not understand that. And I would tell my parents, because I would be like, how do I tell them my name? Yeah. I would literally have those conversations with my parents, because the teacher would ask me 10 times how to say my name in front of the whole class. And I'm just by time number 3, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what my name is.
And that's so funny too, because I remember those conversations with our parents.
Yeah.
And our parents would think it's weird that they don't know our name.
Yeah.
They'd be like, what do you mean they can't say your name? Like, it's a name. So that's funny too, because both of our parents, them being foreign, they think that, like, why wouldn't they know a foreign person's name? It's just a name. You're telling them the name, just repeat it as it's said. So that's funny. It was funny for them that they don't get it.
And that's another thing though. Our parents never went to school here.
Yeah, they already came here as grown adults. So they finished all their school in each of their countries.
So that's also something just to note.
We're saying, like, once you got to first grade.
Yeah, once I got to first grade, I finally felt liberated of my name.
Yeah.
Because the teacher helped me. And that's also, you know, growing up and everything, I love my name. Yeah. I love my name. I never want to change it. I love that my name is Turkish because that's who I am. I love that my mom gave us that name because she picked it. Even though my dad is Turkish, my mom's the one that picked our Turkish names.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy and I'm so proud of my name and I love it. And later on, I actually wanted people to say my name with the Turkish accent, in the accent that it is, because that's my name.
That's your name, exactly. Yeah.
That's my name. And if they can't say it, well, that's on them because that's my name. And, you know, I adapt to other people's names, so they should adapt, I feel like, to mine too.
Yeah. And I feel like it's really not that hard, guys. Like, if somebody tells you their name is like Pumpkin, then why would you call them like Pookie? You call them Pumpkin. Do you know what I mean? Like, just repeat what they say. In my experience, you know, my school has so many different people, and you too later on. Like, she'll get to it.
Later on, yeah.
Yeah, but, and I have so many friends and acquaintances and everything of names that I've never heard in my life. And I can say their name. Yeah. So why can't somebody else say art? You know what I mean? It's just, it's like so crazy to me.
It was because I think the teachers were all white. Yeah. The kids were all white. I'm the only one that was different. Yeah. I was the only one in my class that was completely different. So it was like, I guess, a shock for both people. Yeah. Right? That's what I guess. But then that was first grade. But then just when I started school, elementary school, for me, the food was also a crazy disaster.
Same here.
The food was so weird to us.
That was a culture shock.
That was a culture shock. Really culture shock. Yeah. Because we didn't know what sloppy joes were. Mm-hmm. What was it?
They would just, you know, they have all these names that now they make perfect sense. And I share in the same experience with my sister that when we started going to school, you know, prior to school, we only been exposed to Ecuadorian food and Turkish food. And when our family would go out to eat, we would eat, like, they like to eat Greek food or
Indian food.
Some of our favorites. Chinese food. We would eat that kind of food. That's what my parents like. And that's just our parents' preferences. Because I know I have friends who their parents are also both foreign, but their parents like American food. So they knew the names of the foods and everything. But since our parents, they don't eat
hamburgers. They don't like pizzas.
They just don't like American food. And that's nothing against it. They just don't like. We love American food, so that's different.
And it's not like they don't like it. It's just that
that's not their preference.
They prefer to have a good meal, you know, instead of like a hamburger and fries. They don't see that as a meal, really.
So we weren't exposed to any of these foods. And then when we go to school, I remember in my case, like, first day of school, and they're like, okay, pick your lunch. And there was just like, I think it was just like 3 or 4 options, but they were like, you know, chicken patty, sloppy joe,
or like, what was it, taco boat,
and like what was it, pancakes and sausage links, something like that. I had never heard any of that before in my life. I've never had a pancake before in my life at that point when I started kindergarten, because again, like I said, my family, our parents, they don't favor like American food. Nothing wrong with it. It's just everybody has their preferences.
We've never had pancakes, but we have had French toast.
Exactly. Yeah, we never had pancakes, but we had French toast. So it's just like whatever you're exposed to. So I had no idea what a pancake was. I had no idea chicken patty, and being just little, of course, chicken I understood, but I'm like, what is a patty?
So you just lose the word chicken. You're just like, patty. You're like, chicken patty? You see it as like, for me, I felt it was like one word, chicken patty. I'm like, what is a chicken patty?
To me, I felt like they were speaking a foreign language to me. And even though we spoke English perfectly, okay? Like, we spoke English perfectly going into school already. But I felt like they were speaking to me in a foreign language. And I just remember being like, I was just like completely blank. I didn't know what to say. And I had a friend, luckily, that I made a friend already, like, on the first day of school, I guess. But she was just like, she was like, just pick the sloppy joe. She's like, it tastes so good. And my friend was Indian, actually, who told me this. So she just obviously had been exposed to that, you know? Yeah. And both of her parents were from India. So, but anyway, so she told me, so get the sloppy joe. So I was like, sloppy joe? Like, I just ordered that. And I ended up loving sloppy joes, by the way. That's like a little funny story about me. But when I was little, I came home and I was like, oh my God, I love sloppy joes.
Yeah. It's just so weird. Like, it's so weird because you come from a house that doesn't have those kind of foods. Yeah. And then you go to school and that's your first encounter with like a different culture,
because we weren't exposed to the food really.
It was the food, yeah.
But and the funny thing is, like, when I went home and I was telling my parents, I'm like, oh my god, I tried something called a sloppy Joe, and I'm like, and it was so good, whatever. And I was thinking they wouldn't know what it was either, and they knew what it was.
Yeah, they knew
what a sloppy Joe was. So I'm like, what? I'm like, so really. And then I didn't really think about it much, but then growing up I realized, I'm like, okay, so my parents knew these things, they just never talked about it, because I guess they tried a sloppy Joe but didn't like it, so they never took us to eat a sloppy Joe or recreated it at home.
I don't think I've ever ate a sloppy Joe ever in my life, aside from school.
And that's another thing too. Sloppy Joe's probably like a crazy like example too, because I've never heard of sloppy Joe either outside of school, to be honest. So maybe that's just like a unique thing. But yeah,
so it was maybe even unique to our schools.
Maybe
I don't know,
but I loved them. Ever since I tried it, anytime I saw sloppy Joe on the school menu, I would be eating it.
Yeah. So how about you? What was your experience when you first started school? Because you heard about mine. So
So for me, I know I said a little bit while you were talking, so I already shared a little bit of my story. But when I started going to school already, my sister, she already gone to school, and she taught me a lot of things already too. Because she would come back home from school, and I was always just like, because I was so curious about school. Being a little sister, I feel like little sister things.
And you would come into school with me to drop me off, and so you would see things already.
I would be so curious, and I would be, I feel like I was saying, little sister things. You want to do exactly what your older sister's doing. That I wouldn't even wear a backpack.
That's what I was gonna say.
Oh my god, my mom was so nice for doing that too, because I just wanted to go to school so bad, and obviously I was too little to go to school. I wasn't even old enough to go to preschool when you were in kindergarten, so I was just so curious, and I
just picture you walking in, so cute,
walking in with a backpack and then walking out with my mom because I wasn't old enough to go to school. So I'm so thankful to my mom though for doing that, those things, because I really wanted to go to school so bad. So I would get up in the morning, get ready with you as if I'm going to school, but I wouldn't. And sometimes my mom would even like pack me a lunch, and then I would just eat that lunch at home from the lunchbox, so I can feel like I'm in school. Yeah, I would go drop you off. So I was exposed to school a little bit more already. But the funny thing is, like, since we were talking about the food a little second ago, my sister and I, we were not big foodies when we were little or anything like that. So we would never talk about the food. That's the one thing that I feel like you never told me about the food, because I was still shocked when I went.
Yeah, but I would tell mom and dad, because I'm like, I don't know what to order. So my mom would come in with me, because it was like, this is back in the day. You would have to go in and kind of order in the morning your lunch.
And that was when you were in school. See, when I was in school already, I was on my own to order.
Right. Yeah. But so in the morning you would go in and you would have to go to the cafeteria and make an order. So I would always be talking to him like, Mom, what do I order?
Yeah.
And my mom would have to pay for the food and whatever.
Yeah, you would pay in advance. Because you're so little at that point. You're only in kindergarten. So
So she would have to pay in advance for the food or whatever. And, things change afterwards. You put in a PIN number and all that. But, but in the beginning, I would always ask mom, like, what do I get? Like, what is this stuff?
So you did talk to our parents about the food, but I guess I never overheard that. Or if I heard it, I just didn't care maybe or something. But so I knew some things going into school. But by the time I went into school too, our school had changed a lot. And I guess our area, or the area where our school was in, had changed already a lot. Mm-hmm. And there was so many other first-gen kids. So even from my very first time in school in kindergarten, I had so many friends that were first gen like me, and so I had that experience where I didn't really notice that was weird, that being different. I just thought that literally everybody's mom and everybody's dad are completely different, from different countries, different everything, and then they met and we're here in America, and that's what it is. And so when I started hearing in school, people would be like, oh, my mom and dad both went to the same, they're from the same city, the same school, they went to this elementary school that we're at, and then all that stuff. And I would just be like, that's so weird. I'm like, your parents are from the same place, both of them, and they even went to the same school and everything. I'm like, that's weird. So I kind of had a different experience where I still thought that what I was, being different and mixed, was the majority. I still felt different, but I just thought everybody was different in their own way. Mm-hmm. But then things like that with the food started popping up where I just didn't know at all. And that made me feel a little bit different, because everything that I would eat and stuff with the foods that I liked, if they would ask me, what do you like? It would be something in Spanish or Turkish. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I couldn't say any American food.
Right.
And I remember, like, even in school where you're doing like those kind of like icebreakers or get to know each other, they'd be like, what's your favorite food? What's your favorite this, whatever? And I started to realize that I have to put like an American answer. So I realized everybody would say pizza. So I just put pizza. I would start putting pizza. Even pizza, I love pizza. Who doesn't, right? But I wouldn't consider that my favorite food until not back then and not today. But I started kind of putting that to, I guess, like assimilate to the culture and like not, because I didn't want to stand out anymore because I already got those looks from whatever. I don't even remember what I put the very first time.
And see, and that's the difference with me. Like, I didn't know what to write, pizza or this or that. I'm like, shoot, I like rice and beans, let's say, right?
Yeah.
So I'd be like, rice and beans. And I'd be like, find someone that has the same kind of food as you. I couldn't find anybody that liked rice and beans.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's, for kids, it's a big change, you know?
Yeah, exactly. But then at least for me, so I had that, like that side where there was still a lot of white people in my grade and in my school and everything, but I had a lot of other like first gen people, and those were the people that ended up becoming my friends. So I had a friend, for example, who she's like, you know, her family's from Korea. I had another one that her family is from India, like I was saying. And so I just didn't think anything of it. I thought we were all different. But then growing up a little bit more, I started to realize, like, you know, people being like, oh, like with the name thing, for example, like your name's weird, whatever. But I didn't feel alone in that because there was like a group of us who we had the weird names, and we're all the kids that were like, you know, first gen. Even though it would get a little frustrating after they ask you like 10 times to say your name again and again and again, I kind of liked it. I'd be like, you know, when they would come around to me, I knew they would have to ask my name like a million times, and I was already like prepared for it. And I'd be like, I would say it a million times over and over again for them without getting frustrated in elementary school. Then when I got into like middle school and high school, that's when I would get so annoyed. Even my friends would like help me out when the teacher would be like, well, okay, say it again, like say your name one more time for me. They like everybody would yell it out. Yeah,
because at that point everybody's over it. They're like, come on, you couldn't hear it the first 5 times.
Exactly. And like I said, by that point too, when both of us, even you too, when we went into middle school and high school, our schools, like they were just completely different.
Yeah, there was so much diversity by that point. It was completely different.
The majority was no longer white people. It was actually kind of like there is no one majority because there's so many different cultures that make up the school population. So it's just like
so many different kinds of people.
Yeah,
and super diverse. And
I honestly think, I feel like first gen people, maybe, I don't know, I might be wrong, but I think we might have been the majority because all my friends ended up being first gen. Every single one of my friends.
Same with me. All of my friends, like, you know, high school, my end of my high school career, whatever.
Yeah.
When I graduated high school, all of my friends, my group of friends, we were all first gen.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah, and that's something that for us we're really lucky because, you know, that I know a lot of people, they go throughout all their school, all their friends, nobody they can really relate to, but I could relate to my friends, and you know, we all have like our jokes and everything of like having our parents that are foreign, and you know, not that you can really get away with things because you can't, but there's some things you can get away with a little bit because you'd be like, but you know, mom, dad, that's how they do it here. Like, you know, like
that wouldn't go with mom and dad though. They would be like, well, this is how you do it in our house.
Exactly. Yeah. But you know, you try it. You try.
You have to try.
Yeah. And I remember with my friends, some of them it would work. So it'd be like, you know, like try this, tell them this, whatever.
Yeah.
And because, you know, just with them being strict, like our parents being very strict and like being like, oh, you know, you have to be home by like
6 p.m.
6 p.m. whatever it was. But we'd be like, and I'd be like, no, mom, dad, like in America, like no, like they stay out later and like all that. But like my sister said, they wouldn't care. Our parents wouldn't care. But I would try it. And so yeah, we were at least lucky that we had other people not exactly like us, like I said, but we could share in those differences at least.
Yeah. And you felt like you belonged to, you know, you had a group of friends that you felt that you belonged to, right? Yeah. And you all kind of were similar.
Yeah.
And you didn't feel any more like singled out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. You didn't feel singled out. You kind of were a group, and even in within that, you know, there's some people you always come across, some people, like I was saying, some like friends, acquaintances, I would say, not looking back at it, but that are like, don't like you just because you're different.
That's true, yeah.
We do come across that too. Like I remember even just inside and outside of school, this is like even once I started getting got a job as a teenager and all that, my friends would know that I'm half Ecuadorian, half Turkish. So when they would run into anybody else who was like either Ecuadorian or Turkish, they'd be like, oh my god, they're like, come meet my friend, like they're Ecuadorian like you.
They're one or the other.
Yeah, they're one or the other, or they're mixed too, because I have met some mixed people, and that was actually there was a mixed girl in my school, and they would think that we were related somehow just because she was also mixed, but she was half Hispanic, half Middle Eastern, but completely different countries. I can't even remember anymore, but she was like somewhere from Latin America and somewhere from the Middle East. And weirdly enough, people think we look alike. I don't know. I never really saw it, but they would think they would ask me like on more than one occasion, like, are you guys related? Just because we were both mixed like the same mixtures, the same regions. But
so interesting.
So funny. But yeah, going back to what I was saying, like I would meet people like, oh, like here's an Ecuadorian person, like they're just like you, like whatever, and I would meet them and I would be like, oh my god, because we're very mixed, like I was saying here, but we don't have necessarily Ecuadorian people too many around us,
or too many
Turkish people too many, but we have all the other like Hispanic countries like representation, like few, and then also Middle Eastern region, but just like those exact countries we don't find too often. So when my friends would find somebody, they'd be like, oh my god, like come meet my friend, they're just like you, whatever. And then I would go and be like, oh my god, like I'm Ecuadorian too. And I would always get like those looks like, you don't look Ecuadorian.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'm like, but I am. And I'm like, well, I'm half Turkish too. I'm like, that's why I don't look like it. And
like, where are you from?
Yeah. And I'm like, where are you from? Whatever. And then it's like immediately you go into that like test, because I don't know if you agree with me. I mean, I know you agree with me, but everybody out there, like when you're mixed, from either side, they're always trying to test you on how much of that you are.
Yeah.
So they would immediately go into the test, like I'd be like, yeah, I'm Ecuadorian. They're like, oh, like from what part of Ecuador is your family from? And I would tell them the city, because we know we've been there to that city so many times, and like my mom always speaks to us about, you know, she's from the capital of Ecuador, and she always, you know, would tell us that like we're not the kind of people like that don't know about our family's history and all that. We know actually a lot. So I would tell them the city we're from. They'd be like, but do you speak Spanish? And they would test me, and I'm like, yeah. And then they would talk to me in Spanish, like trying to tell, like, oh my god, like you do know Spanish, like, oh. And they would do, oh, but do you like know about this food? So, and it's like, obviously I'm saying it in this tone, they don't say it in that tone, but they
are testing you.
You go through this testing process until they believe you or not. And a lot of times, unfortunately, those people would end up not liking me just because they're like, you're not Ecuadorian, they would tell me.
Yeah, that has happened so many times.
You do run into that, and then it's just like kind of crazy, because you're just like, I am, and I feel like I just passed your test, but they don't believe it.
It's wild, because people, I don't know why, it goes back to the whole thing, you're never enough for anyone, and you didn't pass their test, I guess.
Yeah, for that, in their eyes, I didn't pass their test, I guess. It's never happened to me on the Turkish side, just because I don't
think I've ever met anyone.
Yeah.
At least when I was like in school. Yeah. I don't think I ever met anyone that was Turkish. Me.
Yeah, I have, but for some reason, everybody which is very few, but anybody that I met that was Turkish, they were always guys. Boys are just different. They didn't really care. So like when they were like, whatever, she's Turkish, like this guy's Turkish just like you, and I'd be like, oh, like where's your family from? They would tell me, I would tell them, and then it was just like we would move on, kind of, you know, like and that was just it. For some reason, the Ecuadorian people, it was always girls, and you know how it is. I don't know why it is. There's this like girl on girl like hate that happens sometimes. It's so dumb, but it's true. It's true. Out there. And so like that would happen with Turkish people. It was very few. I didn't really meet too many Turkish people, but they always were boys, so they didn't care much. They wouldn't really do that test. So you know, that's just how it is. Being mixed, you always kind of get tested one side or the other, like, or both. They'll test you just to see like which side. It's just part of being mixed, you know. And another thing, you know, kind of like the reason why we want to talk about being mixed, and even in our channel and everything, we always talk about it, because that's our life. Like we are both things, and we kind of want to show that also, that like, because I know even my friends, they would be kind of interested when I would tell them like different things, like they're like, oh, but your mom speaks Spanish and your dad speaks Turkish, like how do they communicate? I'm like, well, they communicate in English, but they do go off on their own languages too. Like sometimes, you know, my mom will get angry when she says something to my dad in Spanish, or you know, like something like that, and my friends would think that's funny. They're like, what the hell? Like that's like, and dad the same thing. He'll like say things in Turkish, and like even friends that come over, they would be like, what? Like, because my dad would be listening to like Turkish music downstairs and something, and my mom would be watching her like novela upstairs, you know, her soap opera in Spanish. And I think for people who that's not their normal, they would be like, that's so weird. Like they would just think that's different. So that's something that I just want to show. We want to show that with our channel, in our podcast here, and also in our vlogs, just like how you being mixed is, kind of, for anybody out there who's not like too aware or thinks you can't be both things. Like we're just here to, you know, show you can very much be both things, and you don't have to sacrifice one to be the other. You can be very proud of both things. Yeah, and also to have like, because we don't see, at least I haven't seen that many people that are mixed how we are mixed. Like, you know, you have your Latino side and you have your Middle Eastern side. I'm sure there's other people out there, but I just haven't come across them. And, you know, we are here to have some kind of representation for both sides. Exactly. Right? Because we don't see it on TV. Yeah. We don't see it in the movies. Yeah.
we don't see that kind of stuff.
Yeah, representation is so important. We know it's so important. We love to see, even when we see somebody like a Hispanic, or Latino woman, like representing as a, I don't know, in a movie or a show or whatever, we love to see that. If we see a Middle Eastern woman too, we love to see that too, being like the, headliner of a show or a movie, whatever it is. We love to see that. Something we never see is mixed people. And I feel like that's something that, I know life will get there eventually, the world will get there eventually.
Yeah.
Or let's say America will get there eventually. We can really talk about this country specifically. We don't see that. You don't see mixed people too much. Yeah. Being like at the front, maybe being like mixed as in half black, half white, that we might see more. But even
they're adding that in nowadays.
Yeah. And even when they're like that, they'll position them as either just black or just white, and they kind of, they want them to pick a side almost too. Yeah. And they make them represent that and not the both things. Like, I just would love to see more mixed people out there, and not them portraying them as more one side than the other, but just both things. Yeah. You're just both things.
Because that goes back to the whole thing. It's so hard for people to understand that you are both. It's so hard. I don't know why. It's something that is, for me, I just can't understand it. But I don't know. We're both. And that's who we are. And I cannot and I will not pick either side.
Yeah, exactly. And like, our parents are also different religions. So that's something that is also like kind of like a clash.
A clash for someone else, not for someone else, family.
Not for us. For us, it's no problem at all. I mean, that's how we grew up. That's how we are. And we respect what our parents taught us. If anything, is just to respect all religions.
Yeah.
And just, doesn't matter if anybody's different, you treat everybody the same, and you just open, like, you have to just keep an open mind. That's the big thing that we learned.
That's the greatest thing I think about being mixed, is that you are so much more open to like diversity, other cultures, even other flavors, like in food and stuff like that, because you are already we're different. Yeah. So our mind is so much more open to other things. Yeah. I feel like other people, I'm not saying that it's everybody, but some people could be a little more narrow-minded when you're just one culture, one thing. All you eat is, I don't know, whatever. Let's say ice cream. So then when you taste pizza, you're like, what is this flavor?
And they think like if it's not like their culture, then it's not correct. Right. Or it's wrong, or it's weird. And I feel like us being mixed everything, where we just, how our parents raised us too, because both of our parents, they're very, obviously that's what they married out of their cultures and everything, but they're very open to other cultures, and they are very respectful to, like, our mom and dad have never told us like, oh, the other side sucks or is horrible, or our side is superior.
They both love what they are, and they both love each other's cultures, traditions, languages.
They respect it so much.
They respect, yeah. We've had a great teachers, our parents.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we can't complain with that. Hopefully, by doing this too, if anybody out there, if you feel like unseen, because that's like one of the things, like the representation, right? You feel unseen, and that's how I would feel a lot growing up.
Misunderstood.
Yeah, like, we're here hopefully to help you out with that. And this won't be the first time or the last time that we talk about being mixed and kind of our experience and everything, but we hope to kind of be those people, like, just showing another aspect. I know there's so many more people out there too, but just showing a little bit of, just being a mixed person, and just like what life is like, which is not any different than anybody else, really.
There's not much difference, you are who you are. But what I want to I guess show is that you don't have to be, because some people, I see they want to portray themselves as more white. Right. When you're like mixed and stuff like that. And because we live in America, right? We don't live in another country. That's what I'm saying, white American. Be proud of who you are. Yeah. That's what I think is the biggest takeaway. Yeah. Is to be proud of who you are. You are unique. Yeah. You're an individual. You are perfect. Just how you are, and with your weirdness, with this, you eat weird, you talk weird, whatever it is that's weird for other people.
For other people, right.
For other people, it's not for you. Yeah. And who cares what anybody else thinks? Yeah. That's the biggest thing. Yeah. Because that's how it was, right? The kids at school thought that we didn't know what we were eating or whatever the heck and stuff like that. We are so happy and so proud of who we are.
Yeah. And never be ashamed of where you're from or anything, because even if, because kids, and anybody in the world, but kids can be cruel.
Kids are a little more mean because they say things without,
like, no filter.
Yeah, it's not with an intent, with a mean intent. Yeah. It's just, they're just speaking,
Yeah. Yeah. And like, just being yourself and everything, like, if anybody thinks your culture or anything's weird, later on you're going to realize that they might even start to love it or respect it because of you. Because I know that happens like with us, where we have, you know, friends and even family who would never in their life, like, I know, like, for example, some friends, they never in their life thought about visiting Ecuador or Turkey. Okay, like, they've told me this. This is, like, from, we've had this conversation before. But because they've known me since I was growing up, everything, and now I'd be like, oh, like, where'd you go over, you know, winter break? Oh, I went to Ecuador. Or I went to Turkey, because we've been, like I was saying, blessed enough to be able to visit our countries, our parents' countries. And I would just tell them little things. I was never trying to convince anybody about it being a good place. No. They would just tell me, like, what did you do? Or, you know, you post pictures and everything, and they would see the different things I do. And then now, my friends have even told me, like, on their bucket list, they have to visit Ecuador, and they have, like, not everybody has both, but some have to visit Ecuador, some have to visit Turkey, some have both on their bucket list. Yeah. And they would have never thought of going to those places. This is what they've told me, right? If it wasn't for me. Yeah. Because, and I'm sure now with, you know, social media and everything, you see other people going to different countries and you want to go there, of course. But, like, this is, I'm talking about, like, you know, kind of back in the day where they'd be like, I want to go here. And
before Instagram kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of before Instagram. And they would be like, I want to go there, whatever. And that's something that they would have never wanted to go to before. So even though you receive kind of some backlash maybe in the beginning, later on, people, just by you being you, you don't have to do nothing else. You have to try to convince nobody, because we're not out here trying to convince nobody either. No. But you just being yourself, people start to like in your culture. Yeah, just being yourself. That's, like, really, like, the, I guess, what we've learned throughout life and everything. And because I've always still come across other friends of mine who are mixed, or even just, like, one thing, but they're different than American culture, you know, just, and them being ashamed of what they are. And it's just,
I've encountered a lot of people like that.
Don't be that way. Like, life is too short. You should always, and whatever you are, not only your religion, race, ethnicity, culture, whatever it is, even, like, everything that you are, you should just love who you are. You should always love who you are and just embrace what you are, like I said, like we were saying. And even people who are haters, they might end up becoming, you know, lovers of that religion or culture or whatever, once they just get to know it. 'Cause a lot of it is ignorance. People just not knowing your different culture, whatever, and they've been obviously taught or somehow received that message that if it's not like something, you know, then it's wrong or it's bad or it's weird or something to make fun of. But really, those same people, they'll grow one day. They'll be exposed to more different people and everything, or different stuff, and they won't be ignorant anymore. And they're gonna realize it's okay to be whatever you are. It's okay. It's okay. Nobody has to be. How boring would it be if we're all the same thing? That'd be so boring.
Yeah. But, you know, talking about that, this is not a friend of mine, or this is just a person that I came across at one point in my life. Yeah. Like a friend of a friend kind of thing. Yeah. So we were at a party. It was a family party. Yeah. And she was like, she's 100% Spanish. I'm going to say Spanish, Latino, Hispanic, whatever you like to say. I like to say Spanish. Yeah. So she's Spanish. And she was like, guys, like, how would a white person act at a party? Yeah. And I was like, what? You know, this is just me. I didn't interact with her at all. I didn't speak to her, nothing. Right.
You just overhear.
I'm just overhearing it. And I'm there with my boyfriend at the time. Yeah. Which is now my husband. But he was my boyfriend then. And I was just like, he's in his own world. And I'm just listening, you know, kind of like eavesdropping into it. And I'm like, what is she saying? Yeah. Because I'm like, why aren't you proud of who you are? Yeah. And then she's like, guys. She's like, okay, I know, I've been thinking about it. She's like, I know what white people do. Yeah. They play charades.
Oh my God. That was what she like.
That's what she came up with.
That's what she relates us.
Yeah, so she's like, guys, if we want to be white, she's like, we have to play charades. Yeah. And I was just, you know, I'm just overhearing. I'm like, what? That made me feel so bad for her.
Yeah, because just
why isn't she proud of who she is? Yeah. You know, and then she goes to say, you know, we play charades, whatever. Because yes, I did play the charades with them. But in my mind, I'm like, this is so weird. That she's doing this because...
Not because she enjoys the game, but because she thinks she has to be something else than what she is. Yeah.
And so then another one of her friends was like, I wish my mom was white. She's like, I wish so badly that my mom is white. Yeah. And so... like you were saying, like I was saying, you know, this whole conversation is just be proud of who you are. Exactly. That made me feel bad for her. Yeah. That she wasn't proud of herself, you know? She wasn't proud of who she is. And, you know, you know, she's not white, and she will never be white. You need to be proud. And how and even her kids, you know, if this girl, I don't know, you know, her life story, but if she goes on to having kids and stuff like that, how are you going to have them be ashamed of what their mother is, right?
Or just ignore your whole, like, you know, history of who you are and everything. Because I just think that's the saddest part. I've encountered people like that too. And by the way, we're not saying charades is a white person game. This is this is her words, like that person. That
person, that's not my words either. But she said that.
And if you like to play any game, you should play it because you like it, not because you're trying to be something you're not. In any stance, like even
and I do like to play charades, but I don't. I play charades with my baby, but you know we don't.
And, I mean, you just have to live your life. You can't be like, this is what this type of people do, and this is what this type of people do.
But that was her. That was her like thought process, like, oh, what is it that white people do? They play charades or whatever, right? It could have been tic-tac-toe, I guess, too. Whatever it is,
it's just sad. Like you were saying, it's sad. I've encountered people like that too, where they just like are so ashamed of where they're from. I've encountered having people that I know that are so ashamed of their parents, like because their parents are foreign and they don't want anybody to meet their parents, or they wouldn't even let their parents come to like school to like, you know, back to school night or whatever it is, because they were just so ashamed that their parents haven't like speak with an accent. That's something that's just like so wrong. You know, both of our parents, they speak with an accent. They speak English perfectly, but they have their accent.
But that's...
And I've never been ashamed in my life, and I never will be. I'm so proud of my parents because, you know, something just for everybody, if you don't know this out there, if somebody speaks with an accent, then that means that they speak more than one language at least, because that means that their native language is something else, and now they're speaking this language with an accent because they learned it, you know, after their first language. So, and anybody who knows 2 languages, that's already props to you. Like, the more languages you know, the better. And let's just stop being so picky, you know, like, oh, if you don't speak perfectly, then people look down on people like that. That's so wrong.
Don't even get me started on that, because I've had many encounters with that and like our parents having accents and stuff like that, and
we get really defensive.
I get defensive because why look down upon a person like that? They took the time and energy and effort to learn another language. You know, something that maybe they didn't do. They can only speak English.
Right, exactly.
So the fact that our parents can speak, look at our dad, he can speak 3 languages. Right? Our mom can speak 2.
With a little bit of a third too. Because she knows a little bit of Turkish.
She does know a little bit of Turkish, So, you know, they took the time. They have the mental capacity to learn that. And these other people, you know, when they start saying, oh, you should speak this. Let's not get started in that.
That's a big trigger for us.
That's a big trigger for me.
That's a big trigger for me too. I hate people who look down on foreign people. Because, of course, since our family's foreign.
Or anybody just with an accent.
And anybody with an accent or anybody, you know, different. I really hate that stuff because it's so rude and unnecessary. Like, I know that would be like my sister said, that would be for another episode. We'll go more in depth, but even people who have overheard us speaking Spanish with our family in Spanish and telling us like, don't speak that in this country, like, you know, all that stuff, that's just like, I know obviously those type of people that are like Karens, you know, it's that's for a whole nother thing.
Those people are also it's a waste of your time. It's a waste of your time.
Don't ever let anybody basically make you think you're any less than just because, you know, you're different or you're foreign, your parents are foreign, whatever it is.
Be proud. Be proud of who you are. That's the moral of this story. Be proud. Be proud of yourself. Be proud of who you are. Be proud of your parents, because in the end, you know, they're foreign. They came here, or even not foreign, whatever it is, right? You're mixed to other stuff. You are here because of them. They did something good.
They did something so courageous to come here to another country. And like, as anybody does, because I know people also migrate to other countries like England or wherever it may be. You know, our parents left around kind of like our ages. They left their countries, and I couldn't, leaving their families, everything they know, going to a country that they don't even know the language. They don't know anything, you know, about it. I could never do that. I could never see myself doing that either. So, you know, and they're not the only ones. There are a lot of people out here chasing the American dream, you know. So just, I give so much, you know, I have so much respect for those people.
Me too.
And so much, like, I look up to them because that's a really hard thing to do. People don't think about it enough, because a lot of people out here want to hate on, you know, immigrants.
The immigrants hold up this whole country, if you think about it.
Exactly. I mean, this country, if we go back to the history of everything, you know, it was made off the backs of immigrants, whether they decided to come here or not, you know, like on free will. So that's a whole, you know, topic of itself. Like my sister was saying, moral of the story is we just want to show our halves, what we are, our mixes or whatever.
50-50.
Our 50-50, going back to the name, that's like, you know, how we came up with the name and everything too. If you missed our first episode, we go into that a little bit more. But yeah, if you're mixed too, let us know in the comments. We'd be so interested because I love hearing people's mixtures. And now with social media and stuff, it's not people that I personally know, but I love seeing like different mixtures. I'm like, I love to see those things. So anything, like if you're mixed, let us know in the comments below. And yeah, and even if you're not mixed, let us know, what your culture is or anything in the comments below.
Let us know. Yeah, and we have so many more episodes to come.
Yes.
We're so excited for all these episodes.
And we touched about it a little bit, just saying that, our parents are from different religions and everything. So we kind of wanted to keep it today just to like being of the different cultures and stuff like that. But we definitely want to talk about, the whole being of different religions, Islamophobia, stuff we've encountered with that. And Ramadan is right around the corner too. It's going to be coming up soon. So during Ramadan, we're going to have some special podcast episodes kind of more based around that stuff. So look out for that too. That's coming ahead. But more quickly than that, we are going to be talking about Love is Blind. And I know we're almost there. It's almost Valentine's Day. So
that'll be next week, I think, right? Love is Blind comes out next week.
Love is Blind comes out next week, so I'll probably be talking about it like the week after. We need to catch up on all the episodes, because I don't know, how many do they launch at a time? Is it like 4?
I don't know. They do 3 or 4 at a time.
Yeah. I don't know exactly how much they're doing this time. We'll have to check, because I feel like that might be, maybe they already said how many are coming out.
I'm not sure.
I don't know. But we'll be watching those. We'll be, catching up, probably watching them pretty quickly after they drop.
Oh yeah, I love that show.
Yeah, but yeah, thank you guys again so much for joining us for this episode of 50/50, and don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.
See you guys.
Bye.